Sailing to a tropical island in the middle of nowhere, using bottles of rum as currency.
Por la casa.
Okay.
Trading with the locals and living off of what we catch.
We did okay for ourselves.
Days spent in powerade blue water without another soul around for miles. These were the visions that we had when we first dreamt of sailing the world. And after spending years fixing up our boat and saving enough cash, we were able to have that exact experience.
It's better than I thought it would be, you know?
But what surprised us was that those experiences were just the tip of the iceberg. And to get there, we'd have to overcome some serious challenges.
Spirits have definitely dropped a little bit on board the good ship Atticus.
I just had a little bit of a panic attack.
The best thing to do is to start drinking it now and figure out if we're gonna get sick. It's straight up dangerous out here.
Hey guys, so this is our second video of our recap series where we're basically telling our story from the very beginning over the course of 4 videos.
Now, if you missed the first episode of our recap series, definitely watch it first before you watch this one. Now, in real time, we are getting ready to hunker down for winter here in D-Marin, Turgutreis in Turkey. And we thought this would be the perfect time to dive into our big picture story like never before. So we hope you guys enjoy it.
Now, in last week's episode, we ran out of money shortly after sailing to Mexico. But as luck would have it, we met some friends who were able to help us get back on our feet. And Desiree and I were both able to find work and start saving for our next adventure. Now, ever since we first bought Atticus 1, our main goal was to explore the Western Caribbean on our way to Panama, where we hoped to transit the canal and then cross the Pacific to French Polynesia. So after working in Isla Mujeres for a year and a half, we finally saved up enough cash to continue on our journey. And the first step was to make the several-day passage down to Belize.
All right, it's game day. 3 a.m., just making some coffee. Boom. Morning.
Check out the sweet view with the lights from the hardtop. Makes for some really awesome lighting. Sun's starting to lighten up the sky and this is just so perfect. Atticus is just happy. I really get the feeling that like this is what she was built to do. There you can see we've got the rail in the water. Yeah!
Well, Jordan's passed out down below. I just went through an emotional roller coaster. And you know what? I don't get how people look attractive when they're sailing and in bikinis and everything. Like, I am just a wreck when I'm sailing. I don't know, maybe one day. Hashtag bikini goals, we'll see. Anyways, when we left Isla Mujeres, it was really beautiful and calm. And I came up about 3.5 hours into his watch just to make sure he didn't want to switch. He was looking good. He said he wanted to wait 30 more minutes till we rounded this point. So I said, okay, cool. I'm gonna go down below and make some food. And at that moment, the wind picked up, the current got crazy, just everything changed like that.
Well, spirits have definitely dropped a little bit on board the good ship Atticus. What sucks about this trip is you're on a lee shore and the current's going against you. So it takes you a long time to get where you're going. So I was actually telling Desiree that was my bad. Like my lesson that I've learned when looking at forecasts, if you've got a lee shore, just go in like real calm weather, you know?
One of our ongoing issues is there's a small leak in our starboard scupper. So whenever we're heeled on a starboard tack, some water, seawater, gets in through that scupper and leaks down and just pools down below in the main cabin.
That is what Desiree and I have started terming the river of love. Don't be deceived, it sucks. And so we've got a lot of our stuff drying up there. Our whole world down here is just wet, and that just makes everything that much more miserable.
So I was down there, everything was wet, covered in salt. I was getting a little seasick, and I had just shoved in a bunch of stuff into those cubby holes because it's always been like a safe place to put things. I just pulled everything out. All of my clothes in there were wet. I had a couple of sewing books, they were wet. So by the time I got into the V-berth, after like walking through our little river in the main cabin, and saw water everywhere and stuff everywhere, and I was seasick and my back hurt, I was just like, why the am I sailing?
So bud, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good now that I'm not on watch anymore.
Yeah?
Getting a little flustered there.
By tomorrow, we should be out of the worst of the current. Right now, this is the worst of it. We're probably getting a full 2 knots against us. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Got a storm cloud coming in. We just doused the jib. We might put another reef in the main. Ooh. Holy it's a lot scarier when you're outside of underneath there.
Oh,
What?
hey, bud, close this. All right, well, that was fun. Nice little rain squall. How did it compare to the last squall that hit us when we were on our way back from Ascension?
I don't even remember that anymore.
Remember in the episode?
That was in Key West.
No. No, that was...
Well, that storm wasn't too bad. The process of trying not to get in an argument was harder, it turns out. We're still figuring out the whole teacher-student balance, also husband and wife balance. Well, we just dropped the hook. Atticus is not moving for the first time in 3 days. Cheers, bud.
Cheers. We made it. I mean, the boat is in shambles, but so are we. But we made it, God.
That sail to Belize from Isla was to this day one of our toughest passages that we've ever experienced. But as we cruised the islands off of Belize over the next couple of weeks, we were reminded of just how many other small hardships the sailing life entails. And chief among them could be spending 24/7 in such close quarters with your partner. When you're in the middle of nowhere, you have only each other to rely on, no matter what happens. And we had to depend on each other in a way that most people ashore never fully appreciate. Sailing can be extremely hard on relationships, but especially in those early days, our partnership was seriously put to the test.
Well, I just had a little bit of a panic attack. I know when I first started watching travel vlogs and cruising vlogs, I always got this sense of like, man, these people are like perfect and they have these perfect lives and these perfect relationships. But the reality is, you know, we fight a lot and well, we argue a lot, and there are lots of issues in our relationship. We struggle to kind of get through them together a lot of the times. Essentially, we were leaving the anchorage, and Jordan wanted me to sail off the anchor, get on course, which turned out to be dead downwind.
And so we were having to jibe back and forth around these like shallows and shoals. And I needed Desiree to basically be at the helm and work the main sheet as I was doing a bow watch. Kind of got frustrated when we were bringing up the anchor, and I asked Desiree to do a couple things. I felt like she wasn't following my directions well, and it got me into a frustrated mood. And so I think what happened is I was already frustrated, and then things got stressful. And so I started kind of barking orders at her that to do things that she isn't very comfortable with doing yet, like keeping a course that's really close to jibing, and then when we do jibe or have to jibe, you know, pulling in the main sheet to get the main center line.
To get on course, I feel like I have to jibe.
But you're gonna have to jibe.
Oh.
I told you would jibe. I said before you jibe, take in the sail.
Okay.
Careful, you're gonna jibe. Pull that damn thing in now. Putting her in charge of that was probably more than she's ready for and accustomed to. And then on top of that, when she was having a little bit of a hard time with it from time to time, I would get frustrated and angry at her. And so I think there was a combination of the high anxiety situation and then me making it more stressful made her have like a little anxiety attack.
I feel like he was expecting a lot of me and got upset that I wasn't able to pull off that maneuver. And then I think he was upset that I was having a panic attack, and that made that things even worse. I've been really struggling learning how to sail, even though we've been living on Atticus for about 5 years now. I think mostly because my instructor is Jordan, and you know, for us to have a successful lesson together as, you know, partners in a relationship, the stars have to align kind of perfectly, you know, like I've got to be rested and excited about a lesson,
and ready to ask a lot of questions, as well as I have to be not defensive about mistakes that I make. And then on Jordan's end, he has to be ready to understand that I'm not gonna be perfect, and it's gonna take me like 50 times of doing something before my muscle memory kicks in and I'll be able to start intuitively doing things.
It's something that we've dealt with a lot in our relationship. I can be kind of shitty, you know, when it gets stressful, and like I said before, high expectations, unreasonable expectations, and then can react to the situation pretty poorly. It was basically just me being an asshole. You know, when I do it, I don't mean anything by it. It's just in the moment when things are stressful, I totally lose my sense of, am I being an asshole, you know? And I become result oriented. So if the results that we need to like do this maneuver successfully aren't occurring, I get upset. And that bypasses the entire concept of like, okay, well, should I have expected this to be able to happen in the first place?
I can understand from his perspective that, you know, he just wants to get out of the anchorage and he just wants me to be able to not have a panic attack if he asks me to drive the boat, you know, but I'm not there yet. So, yeah.
Buds now love each other.
Buds are in love again.
That's right.
Oh, that was bad.
That was bad.
Although we had some moments that tried our relationship, we were also having the time of our lives, exploring the islands off of Belize. And the most beautiful and adventurous of these islands are definitely the offshore atolls. But don't let the beauty fool you. These rings of coral rising up from the deep ocean are far from civilization, and those who live out here eke out a tough existence.
Just got approached by a little pango with 2 guys in it. I guess they're selling lobster and water, asking for rum and gasoline.
Okay, my name is Alan, and I'm from Coco Chiqui, Turnoff, and happy to see you guys, and I welcome you guys here.
My name is John. I'm from Turgutreis too.
These are our new friends. They work on one of the islands here for a guy that owns a house, as well as they do lobstering in the area. So we're gonna try and go out with them and do some lobstering and spearfishing in the morning. All right, so we found their little spot here.
Hi guys, this is a very nice island. High sun, you know, you can enjoy a good walk.
Is this the house that the owner has?
Yes, this is Fabian's house.
How often do they come?
If the fishing season or the lobster season is on, they are here most of the time. They go in for 3 or 4 days and then they come out back. This is our humble fisherman's, we call it camp.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh man, it's so breezy in here.
We learned that this camp served as a home base for Alan and the gang to tend to a large number of underwater shades, which were man-made shelters for the lobsters. These shades allowed the lobsters to grow quickly and allowed the guys to selectively harvest the lobsters with minimal effort. At the time, the camp was lightly staffed, but in peak season, there could be almost a dozen guys living in this camp, spending all day out in the sun working the shades and then hanging out playing cards in the evening.
Yeah, I bet you need a mosquito net to sleep
So
here,
what we have here is these are cocos.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
But this can be used as potatoes.
Uh-huh.
You can substitute these as potatoes.
Oh, okay.
I used to do a bit of diving up in San Pedro.
Uh-huh.
And whenever we finish lunchtime, we go to the beach, we light a fire, and we take a fish, clean it up and slice it up, season it nicely with all the ingredients. And we just wrap it up in silver foil.
And stick it on the
stick
fire?
it on the fire.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And the potatoes, the same thing.
Yeah.
Give them a little cut, put some butter in them, and then you put them in the foil and
Yeah.
throw them in the fire.
That's awesome.
And whenever they're finished,
Yeah.
man, I tell you, you like to eat from the foil.
Yeah, right?
That's what you do it.
Whoa. Oh, cool.
You got a coconut.
Nice.
Drink the water.
Taste the water.
All right, that's the old coconut water. That's not the young coconut.
That's not bad for
Yeah,
old.
not bad at all.
I would drink that.
I drink it every time I do the coconut.
Yeah, why not?
Oh, no shit. Yeah, look at that. That really cleans it out.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
We learned that while their job is to tend the lobster shades, the guys mostly live off of what they catch, so much of their time is spent fishing. Alan offered to show us the best spear fishing spots, and man am I glad we took him up on his offer. That day was one of the most successful spearfishing trips we've ever had, and it was just so cool to be shown around this vast and tricky to navigate cluster of islands by someone who really knew where they were going.
Hey.
We did okay for ourselves. Time to clean these bad boys up and fire up the grill.
Well, the sun's just setting and it's gorgeous. The guys are inside chatting over some drinks, and that is smelling delicious. I wish you guys could smell it. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, that looks delicious. Yum.
To me, the flesh is nicer this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has a better flavor than coming out of the frying pan.
Yeah, absolutely.
like normal.
Yeah.
Well, the toast is simple. Toast is always to the best of our health.
There you go.
Right?
Thanks,
To the
guys.
best
Thanks
of
for your
our health.
hospitality.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, got some coconuts for the road.
Yay.
Thanks, Weasel.
I was just thinking, thanks for getting us through the boatyard. You know, I had so many low points where if I could have just like taken a picture of like just our legs and then like this sandy beach and all the different colors of water and just told myself like, don't worry, it's gonna take 3 years, but it will happen, don't worry. But instead I really honestly so many times didn't believe that we'd actually end up cruising. You know, it just seems so far away. And I couldn't have even imagined this kind of beauty and like privilege to be out here, you know? So I feel really lucky.
Glad you think it was worth it.
Yeah, me too. It's better than I thought it would be, you know?
Yeah.
You can't even make up an island like this.
Yeah.
So you probably remember that our daughter Isabella has a medical condition, and we need to visit doctors somewhat regularly to continue to deal with the situation. Everything's going really well, but we've decided to travel back to the United States twice a year in order to cover all of her medical needs. And we actually just got back from our most recent trip and had a blast visiting friends and family. It was so much fun.
Merry Christmas! You want to give Abuelita a hug?
Come on, Giraffe.
And to me, the main downside of flying internationally is having to deal with jet lag, which we are right now struggling to get back into a normal sleep routine. And that's why we've been really enjoying the sponsor of today's episode, Beam. Beam makes a sleepy time hot chocolate called Dream that has been clinically shown to improve your sleep. Dream comes in a bunch of different flavors, but our favorite at the moment is cinnamon cocoa, which we are out of, so we need to get some more. But the peanut butter is pretty killer too. Dream is full of ingredients that help us to fall asleep and stay asleep. But most importantly, it's got melatonin, which helps us to reset our internal clocks as quickly as possible. And now that it's a new year, it is the perfect time to implement new health routines. Plus, you don't want to let bad nights of sleep affect your ability to fulfill your New Year's resolutions. So click the link in the description below or scan this QR and make sure you use code Atticus to get up to 35% off. We spent several months exploring the beautiful islands of Belize, but hurricane season was in full swing when in July, we finally decided to call it quits and seek the refuge of the Rio Dolce in Guatemala. Known to Caribbean sailors as simply the Rio Dolce is a river that winds deep into the jungle of Guatemala. The surrounding mountains break up any hurricanes that pass over, and the elevation protects boats from storm surge, making this the best hurricane hole in the entire Caribbean.
Well, what do you think, bud?
It's really pretty. Yeah, it's just cool to see so much green, see something different, see some altitude for once. It's really quiet and you can hear all the like bugs and insects and who knows what else back there.
It's cool to have Atticus like feel like it's surrounded by stuff, you know? Atticus is normally, you know, out in the open, but to have like kind of these trees looming over you is a pretty cool feeling as we're just cruising along the river.
Now, my favorite aspect of the Rio Dolce was the boat culture. The jungle is so dense there that it doesn't make sense to build and maintain roads. So everyone just gets around by boat, with many marinas and restaurants having no road access whatsoever. So if you were going somewhere, you were going by boat. Not far from the Rio, deep in the jungle, is a waterfall that has an actual hot spring at the top of the falls.
It's so hot, the lens is fogging up.
So the water coming down the waterfall is literally hot. It felt like we were in a dream as we relaxed in this natural hot tub in the middle of this beautiful scenery.
Is it far?
No, it's only like a foot. I'll help you. Just take my hand.
Okay. Here. Whoa! This is crazy!
Yeah.
Oh my god!
How cool is that?
Thanks for showing me, Ben.
Yeah, see, and then this water is hot.
Whoa.
Okay, and then there's another one over here.
What?
This one is really sketchy.
Whoa. Whoa. This is crazy.
Now, obviously, we had been filming much of our adventure up to this point, but we were doing it part-time, without the videos really producing any income of their own. But while we were in Mexico, we realized that it just wasn't possible to work, sail, and film and edit YouTube videos, and that we would most likely have to give up making videos. But it was around this time that we saw several other YouTubers using this new platform called Patreon, where viewers could help fund your video storytelling endeavors. So when we left Mexico for Belize, we decided to commit 100% to trying to become full-time YouTubers. Now, at the time, our monthly expenses were only $1,200 a month, so our goal was to eventually make enough from Patreon to cover those monthly expenses. And it was in the Rio that after producing weekly videos for about 6 months that we were on the verge of making our goal.
We wanted to let you guys know that we are this close to meeting our 500 challenge goal on Patreon, which means that we are this close to becoming full-time video storytellers, and that is just insane for me to even say. Like,
we never thought we'd get here. Jeff says, looks like we're at 503.
hey! All right.
Now, even though we had spent years working on Atticus, we were beginning to realize that there was still a lot more work to be done. The majority of our time in the Rio was actually spent tackling a bunch of boat projects, and when hurricane season ended, we sailed to the Bay Islands off of Honduras and actually did very little cruising there as well, but rather spent the better part of 2 months continuing to work on the boat.
So we finished the semi-flexible solar panel installation. We're not quite producing enough electricity. The next stage is going to be installing rigid solar panels on either side of the cockpit. So there you have it, 400 watts of solar on a 30-foot catch.
Since leaving Mexico, we had actively cruised for about 3 months and had worked on the boat for about 4 months. So by the time we left the Bay Islands and set sail for the south coast of Cuba, we were once again eager to stow the tools and finally get back into adventure mode. But just as we arrived, we ran into a massive squall that caught us completely off guard.
We decided to come to the dock and fuel up and do our laundry. get a weather report. And while we were waiting for the port captain and the diesel guy to come, this crazy little squall came through. And man, it was a challenge getting off the dock. I have kind of hurt my leg a little bit. I don't even know what I hit, but I've got a baseball-sized bump on my shin. So now we're heading back to the anchorage, and it's kind of crazy out here.
But man, this picked up really fast. And I mean, it's straight up dangerous out here. So we're running into the lee of some islands. I'm just hoping we get there soon because this chop is real steep and making it hard to steer. All right, well, we're getting up into the lee of one of the islands to the north of this anchorage, and it is like night and day. Oh, that got so sketchy. Oh my God.
The next couple weeks were spent making our way east along the south coast of Cuba. Now, Cuba is a very difficult country to sail in, particularly because of its geopolitical situation. Basically, the government restricts its people's access to boats, so the only ports that visiting sailors are allowed to stop at are ports with official marinas where access is heavily controlled. The only exception to this are the lightly inhabited offshore islands, and it was these islands that were our primary goal for visiting Cuba. But this whole situation presented a problem for us because the official marinas were few and far between, and without a water maker, we were in desperate need for fresh water. And that's how we found ourselves one day having to sail 50 miles out of our way just to fill up on fresh water.
We're just anchoring right now, and then we're just gonna get our jerry cans and fill those bad boys up with water and diesel. Came to this kind of like transient dock, turned on the hose, and there's not enough pressure to be able to use our filter with it. So right now we're trying to decide if we just should go ahead and fill up our tanks without filtering the water. I went and talked to the port captain and asked if he knows if we can drink this water, and he said yes, it is potable, but I don't know, I'm just kind of skeptical because that's happened to us before and it hasn't been potable.
We are literally out of options. The best thing to do is to start drinking it now and figure out if we're gonna get sick.
Yeah.
Luckily, the fresh water did not make us sick, and after sailing for another couple days, we arrived at our primary destination, Cayo Campos. If I had to choose my favorite place on the entire planet, this might be it. I feel like Cayo Campos is what the rest of the Caribbean must have felt like in the 60s. Almost no one around, tons of fish, and locals who were just genuinely stoked to see us.
Antes, hablaba usted de pescado y langosta.
Sí.
¿Lo tienen todavía? Sí.
Sí, todavía.
Ah, ok. ¿Qué nos gusta para cambiar? ¿Qué necesitan?
A ver, compañeros. ¿Tienen línea pescaria?
Sí,
Yeah, we do.
sí.
Luego, cuando regresen,
Ajá.
te enseñamos.
Ah, ok, está bien. Whoa, holy crap. Those are huge snapper.
Whoa! Definitely take the hogfish
Yeah,
for sure.
cool. Whoa, gracias. Well,
We should probably bring him the line, right?
yeah. Vamos a regresar con la línea.
¿Cómo estás? Is this bueno?
El grueso está bien,
Sí.
pero más en línea porque es muy poquito,
Sí.
muy poquito. ¿No tiene una botella de ron en el barco?
Sí, sí.
Una botella de ron.
Ok, un bote. Ok, perfecto.
Uno pequeño. Por la casa.
Ok, muchas gracias. Ok, regreso.
Sí, dale.
Gracias, amigo. See? Okay. Wow.
As I said before, Cayo Campos has a ton of fish, and we were truly able to live off the sea during our time here.
We usually catch lobster using a net and a tickler, but we weren't having much luck here. So I decided to try something that I had never done before, using only my hands.
I think it's a female though. We should let it go. You see I just grabbed that thing? You go on that side and poke the out of him, and I'll have the net on this side.
As I got into position, I was really bummed because I saw that the lobster was gone. But as I started to come back up, I noticed the lobster was literally right on top of me.
We did pretty well for ourselves. Wow. I can't, like, these are definitely the 2 biggest lobsters that we've ever caught. This is gonna be meat for like the next probably week plus like a dinner party with them, you know?
Sun-dried tomato, artichoke pasta, and grilled hogfish.
Wow.
That's so good.
This is one of those experiences that you only get to do it if you're a cruiser or a Cuban fisherman. You know? Like, I don't think there's any tourists that come out here. It's just so far away from anything.
Now, as it turned out, we really didn't need to go out of our way for fresh water because the islands had plenty, but it came from a source that we weren't very accustomed to.
Hola, ¿cómo está? Lo siento, mi español es muy malo. ¿Es posible? Tengo poquito agua. ¿Sí, no problema? Ok, muchas gracias. Y todos los años, hay mucho agua.
Año completo.
Sí, wow, muy bien.
Ponlo aquí, pongo uno aquí.
Oh yeah, that looks great.
So we're having our last sunset in Cayo Campos, and it's so beautiful. I feel like all the hard work it took to get here was definitely worth it.
This place was so beautiful, but it was even more cool because it was hard to get here.
Yeah.
And yet, like, our journey here was even more cool because the destination was so awesome.
Yeah.
So it's like they complemented each other in that way.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I agree then. Well, let's watch that sun go down.
While much of the Caribbean has become more and more commercialized, I was amazed to discover that there were still pockets left that felt like going back in time, where it felt like we had sailed off the map and into some alternative universe, where people live in camps made of driftwood, travel by boat, drink water from wells, and live off of the sea. My eyes were beginning to open to how unbelievably different the lives of other humans around the world were to what I had been accustomed to growing up in the United States. And I wanted more. I wanted to go deeper, to get lost even further, and to see just how far down the rabbit hole goes.
I think our brave captain is in better shape than Desiree and I.
I'll just say that, like, my heart was pumping, getting into emergency mode.
Can't believe this is our new home.
Oh.